Macmillan Audio presents The Supreme Sing the Happy Heartache Blues by Edward Kelsey Moore. Read for you by Adenrele Ojo.
Chapter 1. It was a love song. At least it started out that way. The lyrics told the tale of a romance between a man and the woman who made his life worth living. Being a blues song, it was also about how the woman repeatedly broke the man's heart and then repaid his forgiving ways by bringing a world of suffering down on him. The beautiful melody soared and plunged, each verse proclaiming rapturous happiness and gut-wrenching pain. Here, in a church, this piece of music couldn't have been further outside its natural habitat. But the tune's lovely mournfulness echoed from the back wall to the baptismal pool and from the marble floor to the vaulted ceiling, and settled in as if the forlorn cry had always lived here. As the song continued and grew sadder with every line, I thought of my parents, Dora and Wilbur Jackson. The blues was Mama and Daddy's music. Nearly every weekend of my childhood, they spent their evenings in our living room listening to scratchy recordings of old-timey blues songs on the hi-fi. One of those might have been as sorrowful as the dirge ringing through the church, but I couldn't recall hearing anything that touched this song for sheer misery. Mama preferred her blues on the cheerier and dirtier side. Nasty tunes loaded with crude jokes about hot dogs, jelly rolls, and pink Cadillacs. The gloomy ballads, like this one, were Daddy's favorites. I never saw him happier than when he was huddled up with Mama on the sofa, humming along with an ode to agony. He would bob his head to the pulse of the music, like he was offering encouragement to a down-in-the-mouth singer who was sitting right next to him, croaking out his hard luck. Sometimes, before sending me to bed, my parents would allow me to squeeze in between them. They've both been dead for years now, but their bad singing lingers in my memory. And because I inherited their tuneless voices, I remind myself of my parents every time I rip into some unfortunate melody. Whenever I hear a melancholy blues, I feel the roughness of Daddy's fingertips, calloused by years of carpentry work, sliding over my arm like he was playing a soulful riff on imaginary strings that ran from my elbow to my wrist. I'd be ordered off to bed when Mama'd had enough of the dreariness and wanted to listen to a record about rocking and rolling and loving that was too grown up for my young ears. Even though the song rumbling through the sanctuary would have been a bit dark for Mama's taste, she'd have loved the singer's wailing voice and the roller coaster ride of the melody, and she wouldn't have let this song go unnoted. If she had been in the church with me, she'd have turned to me and declared, "Odette, your daddy would have loved this song. Every single word of it makes you want to die. I've got to write this in my book." My mother's book was a calendar from Stewart's funeral home that she kept in her pocketbook. The cover of the calendar showed a gray and white spotted colt and a small boy in blue overalls. They were in a meadow, both of them jumping off the ground in an expression of unrestrained bliss. Above the picture were the words, "Jump for joy," and below, "Happy thoughts to you and yours from Stewart's funeral home." Whenever Mama ran into something that she felt was remarkable enough to merit celebration, she wrote a note on that day's date so she'd never forget it. Mama's book first appeared on a Sunday afternoon about 10 years before she passed. We'd just walked out of our church, Holy Family Baptist, and Reverend Brown stood at the bottom of the front steps saying goodbye to his flock. Mama strode up to him and said, "Reverend, you're the best preacher I've ever heard. I've been thinking about your Easter sermon all spring. It was truly a wonder, really opened my eyes."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?